So in this video, I want to address the core issue that's behind the last 10, 15, 20, I don't count, however many videos, and I've addressed it, and I've also hinted at it, but I've also written about this. So the article that came out in Big Think, some of you have read it, and there was one that recently came out in response to it. And so you see this confusion going from professional philosophers, psychologists, academics who study consciousness and psychology, all the way to ordinary people who don't even think of themselves as a philosopher. So the confusion is really at the core of the human condition right now. And it's not true for our history. If you go back to the ancient East and Advaita Vedanta, they clearly understood that there was this thinking mind, and then there's consciousness. And this is actually true even up until the 50s. So in the West, we've got Alan Turing, who proposed this test to see if a computer can think. And it was very clear in the paper that thinking, yes, one day computers may think, but the question of if computers are conscious is a completely different question. And the reason that's so important is because there's probably no better place to find the confusion between consciousness and thinking than in the modern Turing test debates. So let's at least give an attempt to separate the two. So consciousness, one of the definitions we can use is one that's actually popular in consciousness research, and that's to define consciousness as qualia, or the immediacy of experience. And you know this as a conscious being, the taste of coffee, what the wind feels like on your face, or this warmth of the sun, or going out into the cold. These immediate experiences, sometimes they're sensory experiences, but they're not absolutely limited to sensory experiences. They are things that are held in consciousness, and I don't like that phrase because I think it's this consciousness manifesting in different ways. But either case, it can be brought into the immediacy of experience. Thinking is quite different. Thinking is an abstraction, and if we go with the definition that was given in the 60s. I like Neisser's definition, where cognition, that's thinking, refers to any process by which the sensory input, so the senses are taking in the world, but it's transformed, reduced, or elaborated, and then stored as a memory. So that's what thinking is about. And of course, to a large extent, thinking is about problem solving, at least originally. And now we became a bit obsessed with thinking, building abstract worlds. And what it comes down to is we've got consciousness as the core of our being, and then we've got this abstract world that's trying to, the word abstract, this means to take the essence of. And so the representational brain, these 87 billion neurons in your skull, are trying to represent reality the best that it can. At least that's the neuroscientific view of it. And so it's like the map and the territory. And so the territory is conscious experience. And this map making is what thinking is trying to do in terms of reality. But the problem is that, one, not all the maps are very good. And in fact, sometimes the maps may themselves be illusions. And that's what gets us into the first confusion, is when we try to think about consciousness. And that's to confuse the map with the territory, realizing that the map is just a really poor abstraction that doesn't, it's like a really bad poem. It doesn't really capture the reality, and we mistake it for reality. And so it's like trying to drink the word water when we sit and ponder how we can think about consciousness. And again, this isn't just for people who do consciousness research, it's for ordinary people, because we've created, the left brain in particular, has created these remarkably abstract bureaucratic worlds. And now we've got abstract friends, and we've got social media, and there's nothing wrong with this in any sense. And I'm very happy to see people are subscribing to the channel and checking out these videos. But the point is that calling people friends is a strange way to go about an experience that you've never had. We have friends that we've never met, and there's certain maybe ways that we could think about that vibrational connection, but unless you've consciously experienced, one might argue whether this even exists at all. And that's the thing about these abstract worlds, from virtual money, then none of them can be brought into the immediacy of experience. I did a exercise for a past video where you go into a bank and you say, I'd like to see my $20 bill. And of course, it's all an abstraction. You don't own one particular $20 bill because it's all symbolic. And of course, I've talked about the Ph.D so much in so many of my videos because, again, they represent our hunter-gatherer ancestors. And it's a very good chance that we, as a species, lived in the immediacy of experience. But the reason the Ph.D are so interesting is how happy they are. And so that's a really huge clue. So that when the ordinary person confuses consciousness with thinking, they're moving from a place of bliss and happiness, because that is apparently what consciousness is all centered in, to a place where everything is a problem to be solved. And I think Alan put it so nicely when he distinguished between thinking and consciousness, when he said that life is not a problem to be solved, and it's an experience to be had, which is to say, get out of your thinking mind, which is trying to solve problems, and get into the immediacy of experience. So consider that the evolution of our species right now may hinge, may be very dependent on us waking up to this amazing, abstract, complex bureaucracy of a left-brain world that we've created that's really the manifestation of thought. And that has created what we think is unhappiness.